The golden gates of Sheikh Rafiq Al-Mansour's palace opened wide. A young man, Malik, stepped in nervously, adjusting the strap of his worn-out bag. His shoes echoed on the marble floor as servants glanced at him with quiet disapproval. One of the guards frowned. "Guard, you sure you're at the right place, boy? This is no place for ordinary people." Malik swallowed hard but didn't answer. His eyes wandered, drawn to a massive portrait hanging in the grand hall. He froze. It was her, his mother, painted in royal silks, glowing with youth, standing beside Sheikh Rafiq himself. His heart pounded. The laughter and chatter of the guests faded into silence. He could hear only the thundering of his own pulse. A whisper escaped his lips. "Malik? Mother?" From across the room, Sheikh Rafiq looked up. His gaze landed on Malik, and for a moment, his confident smile faltered. His brows furrowed, as if some buried memory had suddenly clawed its way back. The hall grew tense. Servants whispered to each other. Guests turned curious eyes toward the stranger who had stopped dead in his tracks. Malik clenched his fists, fighting the storm inside him. The image of his mother coughing in a dim, cold room flashed in his mind. Her words echoed again. "One day you'll find the truth. Don't bow your head, Malik." Now he stood, face to face with the man who had thrown her out. And though neither spoke, both knew. This meeting was no accident. Years earlier, the palace kitchens buzzed with clattering pans and hurried footsteps. Among the workers moved a young maid, Samira. Her dark skin glistened with sweat, her eyes tired yet filled with quiet dignity. She carried trays heavier than her body, never once complaining. One evening, as she arranged fruit in the dining hall, a voice startled her. "Rafiq, you move quietly, like a shadow." Samira stiffened, nearly dropping the tray. She turned to see Sheikh Rafiq himself standing there, tall, draped. In silk, his eyes fixed on her in a way that made her heart pound. "Samira, forgive me, master. I did not mean to disturb." "Rafiq, disturb? On the contrary, I've never seen anyone in this palace work with such grace." His words unsettled her. Maids were rarely spoken to, never complimented. She forced a smile, bowed her head and hurried out. But that was not the last time. Nights turned into weeks, and Rafiq found excuses to summon her. First, to serve wine, then to arrange flowers, and later, just to talk. His charm was overwhelming, his promises golden. "Rafiq, you're different, Samira. You deserve more than this life of servitude. I can give you everything. Silks, jewels, a life you've never imagined." Her heart battled her mind. She knew he was powerful, untouchable, yet when he touched her hand, she didn't pull away. Against every warning in her soul, she fell for him. Months later, when she discovered she was with child, fear overtook her. She approached him, trembling. "Samira, Rafiq, I carry your blood, our child." For the first time, his eyes hardened. The sweet promises turned to ice. "Rafiq, no, you will not say such things. This cannot come out. Do you understand? Samira, but he is yours. Our son deserves." "Rafiq, silence. You are nothing but a servant. Take your lies and leave. If you stay, I will destroy you." That night she was cast out into the rain, her clothes in a sack, her heart shattered. Alone, she raised Malik in poverty, hiding the truth of his father until her dying breath. And now, years later, that very boy stood in the same palace, unknowingly facing the man who had abandoned them both. The dining hall glittered with crystal chandeliers and golden plates. Long tables were filled with businessmen, politicians, and women draped in jewels. Laughter echoed like thunder across the marble walls. Malik, seated near the far end, felt eyes on him. His modest jacket and worn shoes stood out among tuxedos and tailored suits. He sat stiff, clutching his fork as if it were a weapon. A man across the table sneered. "Guest, tell me, boy, who exactly invited you here? You look more fit to wash dishes than to dine with us." The table erupted in laughter. Even the women behind their jeweled veils smirked. Malik's jaw tightened, but he remained silent. Sheikh Rafiq, seated at the head of the table, finally raised his voice. "Rafiq, it seems my staff is becoming careless, letting strangers slip into my dinners. Tell me, boy, what do you bring to this table? Fortune, education, or just a hunger for scraps?" More laughter followed. Malik felt the heat rise in his chest. His knuckles whitened around the fork, but he forced himself to stay calm. His mother's voice echoed in his memory. "Strength is not in shouting. It is in standing tall when they try to break you." He lifted his gaze, steady and unyielding, and met Rafiq's mocking eyes. "Malik, I bring something no gold on this table can buy." The room hushed. Guests exchanged puzzled looks. "Guest, and what's that?" Malik's lips curved into the faintest of smiles. "Malik, truth." The laughter died instantly. Rafiq's expression darkened, though he tried to mask it with another smirk. His grip on the wineglass trembled slightly. For the first time that night, the powerful sheikh felt a ripple of unease. After the dinner, Malik slipped out into the moonlit courtyard to breathe. The mockery still rang in his ears, but he refused to let it crush him. He leaned against a marble pillar, staring at the fountains dancing under golden lights. Footsteps approached softly. A woman's voice broke the silence. "Layla, you don't belong here, do you?" Malik turned. It was Layla Al-Mansour, Sheikh Rafiq's only daughter, draped in emerald silk. Her presence was commanding yet strangely kind. Her eyes studied him with an intensity that made him uneasy. "Malik, and what makes you think that?" She tilted her head, a faint smile on her lips. "Layla, because I've seen many men try to impress this house. They come with flashy cars, expensive suits, false confidence. You came with nothing. And yet you don't flinch." Malik said nothing. Her gaze drifted toward the great hall, where the portrait of her father still hung. "Layla, you looked at that painting tonight. Longer than anyone should." Malik's chest tightened. "Malik, it reminded me of someone I once knew." Her expression changed, almost pained, but she quickly masked it. "Layla, maybe it reminded you of yourself." He frowned, taken aback. "Malik, what are you trying to say?" She hesitated, her fingers brushing the edge of her jeweled bracelet nervously. For a moment, it seemed like she might reveal everything. But then, with a sad smile, she stepped back. "Layla, be careful, Malik. This palace, it destroys those who don't know its secrets." She turned and disappeared into the shadows, leaving Malik with more questions than answers. And for the first time he realized, someone in this house knew exactly who he was. The night stretched on, but Malik could not rest. Layla's strange words echoed in his head. "This palace, it destroys those who don't know its secrets." Driven by instinct, he wandered through the quieter wings of the estate. The corridors smelled of old wood and jasmine, the walls lined with tapestries older than time. Servants had long retired, and silence ruled. He passed a half-open door, the old servant quarters. Something inside pulled him closer. Dust floated in the air as he stepped in. Broken chairs, worn mattresses, forgotten belongings lay scattered. In the corner, under a pile of linen, Malik noticed a small wooden chest. Its lock was rusted, weak. He pried it open with a shard of metal. Inside were letters, dozens of them, bound together with a faded ribbon. His hands trembled as he unfolded the first. "My dearest Rafiq, every night I thank God for the way you look at me. Though I know others would never understand. You promised me that love has no rank, no title. You said one day the world would know us." Malik's chest tightened. The handwriting, delicate, familiar, belonged to his mother, Samira. He opened another letter. "Rafiq, our child is growing inside me. I am afraid, but also hopeful. He will carry your strength, your name. Please, do not abandon us." Tears blurred his vision. The letters were proof of love, proof of betrayal, proof of a legacy denied. At the bottom of the chest, wrapped in cloth, was something even more damning. A signet ring bearing the Al-Mansour crest, the same crest etched into every gate, every wall of the palace. Malik gripped it in his fist, fury and grief colliding inside him. For years his mother had suffered in silence. For years he had been treated as a nobody. But the truth could no longer be buried. And soon, the man who had mocked him at dinner would face his son's storm. The grand banquet hall glowed with chandeliers, crystal glasses clinking, and laughter echoing against marble walls. Foreign dignitaries, ministers, and the wealthiest families of Dubai sat around the long table, there, eyes fixed on Sheikh Rafiq Al-Mansour, untouchable, unshakable, the man whose name commanded empires. Malik stood near the entrance, chest heaving, the letters hidden inside his jacket, and the signet ring burning against his palm. He had been invisible all night, dismissed as just a worker, but now, that invisibility was his weapon. "Serve the wine," barked one of the supervisors. Malik stepped forward with the tray, his hands steady, though his heart thundered like a war drum. Sheikh Rafiq lifted his glass, his booming voice filling the room, to legacy, to the purity of our bloodlines and the honor of the Al-Mansour name. The hall erupted in applause. Everyone raised their glasses, everyone except Malik. Instead, Malik placed the tray down slowly and stepped into the center of the hall. Conversations faltered, laughter died. You speak of purity, Sheikh. Malik's voice rang sharp and clear. But what about honor? What about truth? Gasps spread across the room. Guests turned, eyes widening at the audacity of a mere servant daring to speak. Rafiq's face hardened, his hands slamming against the table. Who are you to interrupt my table? Malik pulled the bundle of letters from his jacket and dropped them onto the pristine tablecloth before the sheikh. The ribbon snapped, and the pages scattered like fallen leaves. Read them if you dare, Malik challenged. Or shall I read them aloud for your guests? The ministers leaned forward. A woman covered her mouth in shock as her eyes scanned the words. Rafiq's voice broke into a growl. This is insolence. Lies. Malik raised his hand, revealing the crest-bearing signet ring. Gasps rippled louder than before. Then explain this, Malik spat. This ring was hidden with my mother's letters. A gift from you, Sheikh Rafiq, to the woman you abandoned when she carried your child. Silence fell so heavy it pressed against every chest. Guests shifted uncomfortably, whispers cutting through the tension. Rafiq's wife, Yasmin, paled and gripped the edge of her chair. What is this madness, Rafiq? But Malik wasn't finished. He stepped closer, his eyes locked on the sheikh. My mother's name was Samira, Malik said, voice steady though his hands trembled. You loved her, you promised her, and when she bore your son, you cast her aside like a shadow. The room erupted into chaos, shouts, gasps, the sound of glasses shattering, and for the first time in decades, Sheikh Rafiq Al-Mansour had no words. Only fear flickered in his eyes. The banquet hall no longer sparkled with laughter. It trembled under the weight of truth. Every guest stared, some whispering, some pointing, others frozen as though they had witnessed a ghost rise. Sheikh Rafiq's face drained of color, his proud shoulders stiff as stone. He opened his mouth, but no words came. Malik stood tall in the center, his voice slicing through the chaos. For years, you wore crowns of gold, built palaces of marble, and boasted of honor. But tonight, your empire crumbles, not by force, but by truth. The ministers exchanged glances, unease crawling across their faces. One of them, Minister Karim, cleared his throat. Is this true, Sheikh? Did you father this young man? Rafiq slammed his fist on the table, the veins in his neck straining. Enough. He is a liar, a beggar pretending to be blood. Malik stepped forward, his hand clenched around the letters. These words are hers, my mother's. She wrote of your promises, your cowardice. And this ring, he raised it high for all to see, was yours, given to her as a vow of love. The whispers grew louder. A woman in jewels gasped. Another man muttered, if this is true, then he has the sheikh's blood. Rafiq's wife, Yasmin, stood suddenly, her chair screeching across the marble. You told me our children were the only heirs. Her eyes burned with betrayal. You swore our family was untouched by scandal. Rafiq turned toward her, sweat gleaming on his brow. Yasmin, listen to me, this is nothing but… Silence. Yasmin's voice cracked like thunder. She pointed at Malik, his eyes, his jawline. He carries your face, Rafiq. Deny it all you want, but the truth stands in flesh and blood before us. The room fell silent again. Every gaze bore down on Rafiq, like judgment. Malik stepped closer to the sheikh, his voice steady. You buried my mother's name. You buried my childhood. But you cannot bury me. I am Malik Al-Mansour, son of Samira, and your son, Sheikh Rafiq. The hall erupted, some in outrage, others in disbelief, others in awe. Rafiq slumped back into his chair, trembling hands gripping the edge of the table. For the first time in his reign of arrogance, he looked small, defeated, and in that moment, everyone knew. The untouchable empire of Sheikh Rafiq Al-Mansour had been cracked open by his own blood. The chandeliers above flickered, as if the palace itself shivered under the storm. The air was thick with whispers, the weight of Malik's words settling on every chest. Sheikh Rafiq sat slouched, his lips pressed tight, his once iron gaze broken. Ministers stared at him with doubt, the very allies who once bowed now questioning his throne. Malik stood tall in the center of the chaos, his voice unwavering. "I was raised in silence, without a name, without a father. My mother died with dignity, though her heart was broken by betrayal. Tonight, I speak not as a servant, but as the rightful heir to the Al-Mansour legacy." Gasps swept across the room. A young minister leaned toward another, whispering, "If this is true, the balance of inheritance changes everything." Lady Yasmin's face burned with rage. She slammed her palm against the table. "He has no claim. He is an illegitimate shadow." Malik turned to her, his eyes like fire. "Illegitimacy is not defined by blood. It is defined by dishonor. If anyone here has stained this family's name, it is not me, but the man who abandoned his own flesh, and the woman who now seeks to silence the truth." The room froze. Yasmin stepped back, her lips trembling, fury boiling inside her. And then, another voice cut through the hall. It was Minister Karim, steady and sharp. "The Al-Mansour family controls half the Gulf's trade. If this revelation holds, Malik must be acknowledged. His presence alone could shake alliances." One by one, others nodded. Rival businessmen smirked, seeing cracks in Rafiq's power. A rival sheikh even whispered, "This boy's the weapon we've waited for. The empire is bleeding." Rafiq staggered to his feet, his hands slamming the table once more. "Enough. I built this empire with these hands. No servant's child will tear it apart." Malik stepped forward, the signet ring gleaming in the golden light. He placed it firmly on the table. "You built your empire, Sheikh, but you cannot erase blood. This ring was proof of your vow, and I am here to claim what is mine, my mother's honor, my name, and my place in this family's truth." The silence that followed was suffocating. And then, like a crack in a dam, the hall erupted into chaos, some shouting in support, others in fury and hidden. In the noise, the rival sheiks began plotting how to use this storm to topple the empire once and for all. The banquet dissolved into factions, some clapping Malik's courage, others hurling insults, and many whispering with hungry eyes. The fall of a giant was always a feast for vultures. Malik stood firm, but the weight of those stares pressed heavy on his chest. He was no longer invisible. He was a storm, and everyone wanted to harness him. From the shadows, a tall, silver-bearded man approached. Sheikh Zahir, Rafiq's longtime rival, a predator who had waited decades for this moment. His voice was soft, serpentine. "Malik, son of Samira." He paused, savoring the words. "Your bravery tonight has changed history. But bravery alone cannot survive in this world. You need allies. You need power." He leaned closer, his eyes glinting. "Join me. Stand against Rafiq, and I will ensure you claim everything. The fortune, the throne, the respect denied to you. Together, we can bring down the tyrant who ruined your mother." Gasps rippled through those close enough to hear. Ministers exchanged glances, sensing the tides shifting. Malik's fists clenched. His blood boiled with anger at Rafiq's betrayal. But another voice, his mother's memory, whispered inside him, "Never sell your soul for vengeance, my son." Before Malik could respond, another figure appeared, Layla, the servant who had befriended him in the palace corridors. Her eyes were wide with fear. "Be careful, Malik," she whispered urgently. "They don't want your justice. They want to use you as a weapon." Sheikh Zahir's smile sharpened. "Do not listen to servants. Listen to your destiny. This is your moment." All eyes in the hall turned to Malik, the heir without a throne, the son without a father, the key to either destroying an empire or saving it. Malik straightened, his voice rising above the clamor. "My fight is not for gold, nor for thrones. It is for truth, for my mother's honor. I will not be anyone's weapon." The hall erupted, half in awe, half in outrage, and Sheikh Zahir's smile faded into a mask of cold steel. "Then you are a fool," he hissed, "and fools are easy to destroy." Rafiq, silent until now, finally looked at Malik, not with denial, not with rage, but with something deeper. Fear. For the first time, the mighty sheikh knew his fate rested in the hands of the son he had once thrown into the dust. The banquet hall quaked with tension, every guest waiting for Malik's next words. Rafiq, the mighty sheikh whose voice once silenced nations, now stood trembling before his own blood. Sheikh Zahir's venomous offer still hung in the air, ministers shifted restlessly, and the palace guards waited for orders no one dared to give. Malik's heart thundered. Rage urged him to crush Rafiq, to expose every sin, to let the empire burn in the fire of justice. But another voice rose inside him, his mother's, soft yet unshakable. Do not let hatred rule you, my son. Justice is strength. Revenge is poison. He lifted the letters once more, holding them high for all to see. These are not weapons of destruction. They are my mother's truth. They are proof of promises broken. But I will not stain her memory with blood or greed. I do not seek to destroy the Al-Mansour name. I seek to cleanse it. Gasps and murmurs spread across the hall. Malik turned to face Rafiq directly, his voice rising with every word. You left my mother to die in silence. You left me to grow in shadows. But tonight I give you one chance, not as a sheikh, not as a tyrant, but as a man, a father. Stand before them all and admit what you did. Give my mother the honor she was denied. Only then will I let you walk away with dignity. The hall went silent. All eyes turned to Rafiq, who now seemed smaller than the very throne he sat upon. His lips trembled, his shoulders shook. Finally, with a voice cracked by years of arrogance, Rafiq whispered, I failed her. I failed him. Samira was the only woman I truly loved, but I was too weak to face the world's judgment. And in my weakness, I lost her, and my son. His knees buckled, and the mighty sheikh collapsed into his chair, tears carving lines across his face. The hall erupted, not with outrage, but with shock. Ministers bowed their heads, rivals whispered in disbelief, and even Yasmin's fury dulled into stunned silence. Malik placed the signet ring on the table before Rafiq. This is not about wealth, this is about truth. From this night forward, let it be known, Samira was no servant to be forgotten. She was the woman you loved, and I am the son you abandoned. Her name will live with honor. He turned his back to the hall, walking toward the doors with Layla at his side. The guests parted, watching him go, not as a servant, not as a shadow, but as the true heir who had brought the mighty sheikh to his knees. And for the first time, Malik felt free. True power does not come from gold or thrones. It comes from courage, the courage to speak truth when silence is safer, to demand honor when the world denies it, and to forgive without surrendering to vengeance. Wealth fades, empires crumble, but dignity lives forever.